You found Michigan's retirement coach, Mike Douglas.
It's a fun time of year in 2026 this winter because not only is the Super Bowl season, we're going to do some sports talk here for this next half hour. Super Bowl season and Winter Olympic Games are starting up, and I am here for it, as are you.
The World Cup's coming this summer too.
Ooh,
it's a fun
right.
sports year in America.
Mm-hmm. And my husband's a big, I always joke, my husband is from Mississippi, and you have never met a bigger soccer or Formula One race car fan. The man couldn't tell you anything about football, NFL or college, the NBA, the NHL, none of it. He doesn't pay attention to any American sports. I'm like, what European ancestor do you have that genetically transpired to you and to your Mississippi boy?
And like you say, he's not a bigger fan. He's a big dude. Kyle's tall. Like, he is a monster of a man. Who loves soccer and small car racing.
He's big, like preppy.
He's not built for either one of those things.
You would look at him and you think he's like some Southern frat guy, white boy. And then he comes in loving music. His favorite band, and one of his favorite bands, Sigur Rós, as a Icelandic band. And he loves his Formula One and he's a paradox to me.
Kyle's an enigma,
but he's funny and he's fun.
It is a fun time to be a sports fan.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially for once because the Chiefs aren't in the Super Bowl. Like, I love so much about that.
No, but the Patriots are back.
The Patriots are back. And just full disclosure, with Kenneth Walker running for the Seattle Seahawks, the Michigan State Spartan, I'll be rooting for them as a Michigan State fan.
I'm pretty sure that most people, if you're not a Patriots fan, you're rooting for the Seahawks. You're
a Patriots hater. Yeah, it's either you're a fan or a hater, and there's nothing in between.
Same thing with like the Cowboy group, the Cowboy fandom.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So it's a fun time. Winter sports, it also gives something to look at. I mean, it's stinking cold outside. Right. It's windy. It's snowy. And give us something fun to do. So I'm excited. I love Super Bowl weekend, and I love I like the Summer Olympics more, but the Winter Olympics are still something fun to watch.
They're fun. They're fun to watch this game. We're going to get to a conversation around Lindsey Vonn and how it correlates to us hurtling ourselves into retirement at 100 miles an hour without a plan in place and what to do if something goes wrong. The sports analogies, they are going to be prominent in this next half hour as you're listening to us on Wood Radio. Hopefully, whether or not you like sports, it's fun to watch Super Bowl. It's fun to watch the Olympics. Let's start with the Super Bowl conversation as you're eating your Rotel dip and bowls of chili, getting ready to pick out your favorite commercial. We know that when it comes to NFL players, they dedicate their careers to playing in a Super Bowl, preferably winning that Super Bowl game. Hall of Famer Andre Reed has some unique perspective on Super Bowl games because he's part of an elite group of Buffalo Bills who played 4 straight Super Bowls in the early 1990s. We actually had a chance to sit down and talk with Andre Reed several years back, and this is what he said about his own Super Bowl playing experience.
As a kid, I always dreamed about playing in the Super Bowl. I think if you talk to any Pop Warner kid, he dreams about playing in the Super Bowl one day. And the spectacle of it 25, 35 years ago, it just keeps growing. It's media driven. So I just remember what I felt like stepping on that field, and you knew that millions of people were watching you around the world. And that's where I wanted to be. It was a phenomenal feeling, yeah. Besides the winning, we didn't win, but that's part of losing too.
That's a record, is it not? 4 straight Super Bowl losses in a row. Has any team ever done that? I don't know. I don't have the NFL trivia in my head. Do you know this?
I don't think so. Not 4 losses in a row.
Yeah,
and on top of that,
intense.
they weren't all blowouts. Like, they had a missed field goal that if they make the field goal, Scott Norwood makes the field goal, they win a Super Bowl. When they lost to the Giants, like there was a lot of interesting things, but to get there 4 years in a row is crazy. It's very difficult.
And to lose 4 years in a row, heartbreak
is even wilder.
Yeah, heartbreak. Well, despite losses, Super Bowl runs, they don't happen by accident. There are plans in place for every NFL franchise to have an end goal for the season in the Super Bowl game. And yet, if we flip the mirror onto ourselves, you kind of look at retirement as your own financial Super Bowl, right? Like, you've worked hard, you've saved your whole life, you've made it into this quote-unquote retirement red zone. You're just a few years out from your retirement goal line. And yet, ask yourself this as you're listening to us on Wood Radio this morning. Do you have a game plan to go into retirement, or are you just winging it? Because, and from your perspective, Mr. Michigan's retirement coach, how often do you see folks winging it going into retirement and they don't even realize that they are doing so? They think that they've got a plan because they got a 401k.
Yeah, I see it more often than I wish I did. And a lot of times it's not even, they don't realize that the plan they have is winging it.
Right.
It's hoping for the best,
Yep.
right? And not planning for the worst.
Yep.
So people come in and they hear these rules. I think of Carl and Cindy, this couple out of Cascade. They came in about $2.4 million. And when I sat down with them, we started talking through, we cover the 5 basics, your income, your investments, your taxes, your risk, and your estate plan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do those 5 things look for you? Well, as we went through and I said, let's talk about your income. Where are you going to get your income from? And Carl's answer was, well, we're going to use that rule of 4% that's been around forever. 4% of your portfolio year over year is what you can get. And I asked him, I said, do you want 4% or is there a dollar amount you're looking for? Because a dollar amount is wildly different than just 4%.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they actually wanted a certain dollar amount. They wanted $100,000 a year to live off of out of their portfolio, plus their Social Securities. That's what they wanted. So we looked at it. And he had never really looked at the long-term tax ramifications of his plan because it was all pre-tax 401k. Mm-hmm. He had never looked at what's called sequence of returns risk. The sequence of returns risk is basically if I retire and the market crashes for the next 4 years, well, I'm taking money out while the market's crashing. So if it goes down 20% and I take out 4%, I'm down 24%. And if the market goes down again next year and I take more money out, then I'm down even more. So I'm taking from something that's losing money. And it's called sequence of returns because you could be on the other side of it. If you retire and the market goes crazy and it goes really, really well, then you could keep taking more income out because everything's going swimmingly. Mm-hmm. So there's a risk to a portfolio that says, what if my timing's bad? He had never gone through those conversations. And so as Carl and Cindy worked through the process and we answered some questions, we had really good conversations about income strategies, tax planning, and risk management. And we were able to set up a plan for them that diversified their income streams. So it wasn't just, I need the market to do well and I'm going to take 4%. We made sure their investments were appropriate for who they are. We dealt with taxes and made sure that we were able to reduce about $800,000 of taxes out of their portfolio. We made sure that they were not overly risky and that their estate plan was buttoned up so the government was going to come take a chunk of money when they die. Those were 5 key areas, easy to fix with proper conversations and proper coaching. Mm-hmm. Now they don't have to worry about the headlines. Their retirement isn't swayed by Washington, D.C. or anyone else. They're retiring on their terms and under their control. That's what a good retirement game plan looks like. And that's why people call us all the time saying, can we get a second look? Can you take a look at my portfolio? Rather than just, I'll figure it out when I get there, right? The Patriots and Seahawks aren't showing up. And for the first time at the Super Bowl is not the first time they've seen the opponent. Mm-hmm. They've watched so much film. They prepared and run all these scenarios to make sure that their game plan is going to work no matter what. Well, that's what retirement is. People reach out because they want to know their game plan is going to work. Right. If that's who you are and you'd like to know if you're in the right place, you want a better strategy or to understand retirement better, give us a call, 616-512-2127, or you can reach out to us at michigansretirementcoach.com.
We've opened up 5 spots on Mike's calendar this week just for radio listeners today. So call us right now. Let's set a time for an initial phone conversation with you and Mike. This is a no fee, no obligation, initial step in the planning process, just a space for you to speak with Mike directly and begin the conversation about how he can help you with your own retirement plan for the years ahead. 616-512-2127 is that number to dial right now. 616-512-2127. Give us a call to reserve a time on Mike's calendar. If you're 5 to 10 years from retirement and have saved at least $500,000, that's where you're really going to see the power of this kind of planning take effect. Mike and his team ready to show you what they can do for you. It begins with this conversation with you and Mike on the phone. 616-512-2127. As you go into retirement, of course, you want to be doing better than winging it. Unfortunately, as Mike was pointing out, a lot of us don't even realize that we're winging it. We think we've done well by having a big nest egg, but there are strategies that you likely don't know about, and Mike wants to show you what those might be. All right, let's keep talking about strategies and the sports conversation. It's time for the Olympics. I love the Olympics. Are you guys Olympics? I know you say you like summer games more than winter.
I love the summer. That's the more fun one. And
are you kidding me? The way these kids are now whipping around on those snowboards is wild to watch.
Oh, what they can do is unbelievable. And I think skiing it's the most interesting, like slalom skiing.
Yeah.
When they're going full speed down the hill. And ski jumping is the closest to flying we have as humans pretty much. But there's just something beautiful about track and field and basketballs in the Summer Olympics, which is that's an American.
That's your game.
It's a great one for us.
Yep.
So I really, really enjoy the summer ones. And also I think everything summer just feels better.
Yeah.
But the Winter Olympics are interesting. But I just think that unless you're a skier or a snowboarder or a speed skater, it feels really specialized. Like there's a less wide range of
there's a lot of snow
sports in the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, here's just different ways I can play in the snow or on ice. Like that's the whole Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
So I can jump in it. I can cross country ski in it. I can shoot a gun while cross country skiing on it. It's all just snow related stuff where the Summer Olympics are more diversity.
There's validity to that. One thing we will all be watching is American downhill skier Lindsey Vonn.
Yeah.
She's going for hopefully her second career gold medal. She's heavily favored.
Like she's been around forever.
That's what I was actually talking to somebody else about this recently, about how I couldn't believe it was only her second Olympic gold that she was going for. I think that isn't the conversation around the Olympic Games, it's very specialized, and a lot of people talk about, I think she's a very decorated, very successful athlete as a skier, but when you get to the Olympics, like all bets are off. All success is off.
Had some
everything changes at the
failures
Olympic Games.
at the Olympics.
That's right. She's won a couple bronze medals, I think, also. Interesting thing about Lindsey, giving you some perspective, because it looks so different on TV, but if you think about what's really happening, there is no body protection. She doesn't have football pads on her. She's just up there with her helmet, her skis, and the will of God, ladies and gentlemen, flying down the hill at 80 miles an hour is how fast she can get going. Talk about the tiniest thing going wrong, devastation.
She's 41. She's 41 years old.
That's also the big story.
I think that's why, because she was big young.
Right.
At like 22 or 23, that's
where most Olympic athletes are.
She dated Tiger Woods too, I think. Like, so she was like very popular in pop culture young.
She's having a renaissance.
That's why I was like, I can't believe it. Mm-hmm. The fact that she's going that fast at 41.
Yep.
I don't go sledding with my kids right now. I don't go sledding with my kid. I'm 42. I don't go sledding with my kids. I don't want to feel sore the next day. That's crazy.
No, better. Here comes Lindsey Vonn showing you up, Mike. Keep up. The idea of hurdling ourselves at a certain age. You've reached a certain age, you've reached a certain level of success, and yet here you are hurdling yourself into some sort of phase of life.
Yeah.
Without a plan B. The same risk level can be said for folks heading into retirement when they don't realize their market risk levels, their vulnerabilities. Because if you hit a big market crash, same way if a skier were to have a crash, right before the finish line, right as you get into retirement, it can devastate you. So how do you work to create more space of control for folks getting closer to the finish line?
I know we talked a little about sequence of returns risk, but I had someone who lived through this and they didn't have a game plan for it. Bob and Nancy are clients of ours that we've had them since 2018.
Yeah.
And he retired in 1999 from Ford. He was in their accounting department, a very smart guy. He knew the rules of retirement. Now, again, we didn't meet him till 2018, but in 1999, he retires and he invests his money in the stock market like everybody told him to do it and used the rule of 4% because he could take out 4% of his portfolio year over year.
Yeah.
And then in 2000 through 2003, basically, we went through the dot-com crash and the market dropped 42% over 3 years, or 44% over 3 years. Mm-hmm. And he kept pulling money out and he begins to panic. And the market recovers from 03 through 07. And it doesn't get all the way back up, but it was at least doing better. And then he goes through the 07, 08, 09 crash. Well, there's a reason they call it the lost decade. Because over the course of 2000 through 2009, the market was negative for the decade. So if you are a retiree who retired at the front end of that, not only were you pulling money out, but the market did you zero favors through the entire 2000 to 2009 decade.
Right.
Well, that was Bob and Nancy. They lived through that.
Yeah.
And he had an advisor that he turned the money over to right after he retired. And every time he kept expressing his frustration to the advisor, hey, I'm losing money. I shouldn't be losing like this. I'm retired. I'm scared. Their advisor would just tell him the same thing. You have to hang in there. It will come back. It's a paper loss, which is my least favorite thing that you should hear someone say when it's your money, not theirs. And they tell you it's a paper loss on your money. But that's what he kept being told. He was very frustrated. And then he started out with 2.1 million. And then through the .com, crash, he ended up down at about 1.3 million. Because again, the market's losing. And rather than getting him out of the risk, they kept kind of like saying, we got to go stay in the market. That way it'll recover and you'll make it back. And then here comes 2007, 8, and 9, when by the time it comes to March of 09 and he finally fires his advisor, his 2.1 million was sitting at about $650,000.
Wow.
And they were 10 years into retirement. And he retired kind of young at 51.
Yikes.
So that's a tough place to be.
Yeah.
And from there, he took it over himself. He went to Walmart and bought 2 TVs and set them up as computer monitors in his house. And he begins to study and research the stock market. He had never dealt with the market before, but he decides to take it on his own because he didn't trust anybody. And from March of 2009, now the market went on a really historic recovery after that. But he just continued to invest and keep a close eye on it. And then they really got rid of their spending and they didn't enjoy retirement anymore. They went back to just scrimping and saving and pre-retirement mode.
Yeah.
And he did that full time. And when they meet us in 2018, he was back to $2.2 million. So he had done incredible at recovering their money. Really, really well. And as I sat with them and he tells me this story, I realized, I was like, that's who he was. He was the person hurtling down the mountain. And nobody was offering him any safety. Nobody was offering him wisdom that would get him out of this free fall. And it was tough. And so as we went through the process of helping him build out a good plan, again, investments, taxes, income, risk, and estate planning, really rounding out his overall portfolio, it took us probably 5 months for him to gain trust, to understand, because he'd been burned so poorly.
I was about to say, he was with that guy, that other advisor, for over 10 years.
Almost a decade. Yeah.
And look what happened then. I imagine it would be hard for him to give trust to anybody.
And when we met, he looked at me sideways. I'm like, I get it.
I bet he did.
And so it took us almost, it was all of 5 months. And by the end, he said, all right, I get it. And I trust it. And he handed it over to us. And as his wife is sitting there, Nancy sitting right next to him, she goes, I can't believe it. She said, he's been pretty miserable for several years.
Yeah.
And she said, because now this has been 9 years of him doing it full time. She said, he has not been Bob for almost 15 years.
No.
He's been a worrier and he's been a panicker. He's been afraid. And then as we built this strategy out, we understand that downturns can be devastating. We understand that if you're not diversified and your portfolio isn't strategic, downturns in the market can be really critical.
Yeah.
We understand that it's good to have cash reserves that will keep you safe and keep you comforted during bad times. And also, we understand that there are really intentional ways of diversifying your income. There's a lot that goes into it, but that's all strategy. It's the money is not about strategy. The money's about our life.
Yeah.
So for Bob and Nancy, building a plan that made sense for them, he was able to actually retire. And then about 3 years later, they finally took the train ride through the Canadian Rockies they'd been waiting on. They were supposed to get years before, but he would never do it because he didn't trust. He couldn't feel comfortable. There is a way to live the life you've been dreaming of. And it's on the other side of building a good financial life plan, not allowing yourself to be subject to the market, but dealing with the market on your terms, dealing with taxes on your term. If that's what you want to do, if you want to have a strategy for retirement that is built for you, not the financial systems, give us a call, 616-512-2127, or reach out to us at michigansretirementcoach.com. We will walk you through how to prepare or to live successfully in retirement.
All right, Mike. Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics is showing that the average retiree spends just over $4,600 a month. And there are 3 basic areas that take up more than 80% of that budget, which are housing, transportation, and healthcare. Food is another main component and factor for obvious reasons. The thing is, though, most of us do not live on a budget. And in retirement, when you're working with the money that you've saved, there's a limited amount. Do you find that people are surprised by how much they're spending currently and that versus what they're going to need in retirement?
Yeah, I think that there's kind of like these two worlds.
Yeah.
Well, there's more than two worlds, but the people we deal with quite a bit, they come from one of two spaces.
Okay.
They either have their money really, really dialed in, but that's because they've been living like right at their means, or they're trying to be really good stewards of what they have. Mm-hmm. So if they earn like $80,000 to $100,000 a year, they bring really, really good stewards, and they are making sure that they are good to go every month. You have that camp. Then you have the other camp, which is we kind of always earned more than we needed. Mm-hmm. So we never really worried about it. And neither one's right or wrong.
Right.
But when you go into retirement, it's easier for one camp to make the transition than the other. Mm-hmm. The camp that has always dialed in their number. And when we sit down and we go over their plans and I say, how much do you need a month? And they say $4,732 a month. And I'm like,
$32 and 16
like,
cents. Yeah. Don't forget to tell them about the cents.
Give or take, and it's like, oh, okay. So that's a really easy thing to plan around.
Yeah.
Then the other people come in and they say, yeah, I don't know. We've just always had enough. And I say, all right, well, then how much have you earned? And I just met with this couple, Steve and Carolyn. They're from Holland. And when they came in, we're looking at about $1.5 million in savings. They earned around $150,000 a year over the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. And they just never really hit their expenses, never hit their income. Right. So it was always covered, and they never built an explicit budget because they always had more than enough. So as we go into retirement, we kind of talk through this conversation. How much do you specifically need? Well, I don't know. How much actually enters your bank account every month? I guess we never really paid attention because they're inside that $150,000. They were paying taxes. They were contributing to their 401k. They were doing their medical and all these things. Mm-hmm. And we really boiled it down to actually you live on about $65,000 a year. So even though they earn $150,000, when we got down to their real bills and what they were spending, now it took some time. This was a hard exercise for them. It was really eye-opening for them because they assumed they were spending $100,000 a year, or some months they said, I think we live on $50,000 a year, and it kind of was neither one.
Okay.
So they came out at about $65,000 net after tax they needed to live off of. So that's the thing we needed to figure out. So number one, you have to calculate your essential expenses. Like, what is it we need to live off of? For Steve and Carolyn, it was a thing they'd never dealt with, but now they know. And so for them, it was these conversations. We kind of know the right questions to poke and prod and to say, hey, here's what we got to figure out to retire comfortably and successfully, right? In a way that is not dependent on the market, not dependent on interest rates, but is dependent on the person. Mm-hmm. So we figured that number out, and we help them navigate to that place. If you're one of those people, just like Steve and Carolyn, you said, I've never dialed in my expenses, but I know it's something we need to do. Yeah. We probably should have that as part of our plan because, again, we don't retire on portfolios. We retire with plans. And as a result, we need to have these conversations. If that's what you need to learn, adapt, and figure out how to do, that's okay. Just give us a call, 616-512-2127. And we will help you navigate that conversation. We've got people who will get you a time to schedule to talk with me, about 30 minutes, where we just go over your plan, go over what you want life to look like, and help dial in those numbers for you. Mm-hmm. Because this is the part that we do all the time. We help take the chaos of your regular spending and your regular income and sift it down to a specific number. So again, 616-512-2127. Or you can reach out to us at michigansretirementcoach.com and schedule a time for us to chat. But yeah, so number one, you have to calculate your essential expenses. What is your lights on number? And your lights on number is what I have to have every month to keep the bills paid, to keep our groceries coming in, to keep our regular lifestyle. And then we want to take that number and find a way to match it with our investments to say, here's how I take a piece of the pie to guarantee that I'll never have to worry about my essentials ever again. Mm-hmm. So for someone who comes in again, like when they have, with Steve and Carolyn, they had about $1.5 million in savings, and they needed $65,000 a year net, which means we really need to figure out either a way to get them tax-free income, which is what we ended up doing with them. But we either need to get tax-free income and pull out $65,000, or we needed to get about $85,000 of income, pay taxes so they could get the $65,000. But for Steve and Carolyn, we found out a way to get them tax-free income for the rest of their life. But whatever it is, you just go through and say, out of this 1.5 million, how do I make sure that the market can't take away my income needs?
Yeah.
And we match that up. And for Steve and Carolyn, we went through all the options: dividends, preferred stocks, a 60-40 portfolio, annuities, whatever they want. They landed on the idea. They love the idea of an indexed annuity, guaranteed income, no market risk, and just my lifestyle will never be bothered by the stock market. When we combine their Social Security plus plus an annuity, they didn't have to worry about that. It's not for everybody though.
Right.
Because as soon as people hear, they say, "Oh, here comes the annuity sale."
Yeah.
No, I've had to tell some people they can't get annuities, in my opinion, because I don't think they can afford to tie their money up, or they don't need it.
Okay.
Other people come in, they've got their pensions, they've got their Social Security. So, well, then don't do an annuity.
Right.
But what makes sense for them, it did, because the peace of mind they got from the fact that my bills will always be covered by this portion. We didn't have to use the whole 1.5. We used a portion to pay for it. Then the rest of their retirement savings could be their fun money, their extra money, their lifestyle, their growth. That's how we built it out for them. But for people who are trying to get a good retirement plan, people who are trying to understand how to deal with the chaos in the world, and yet they've never really built out a specific budget, that's a hard thing to reconcile, because you hear all the bad news. You see all the different articles telling you how much you have to have in savings, and that number keeps changing. It used to be $1 million. And then someone came out with one like 3 years ago that said, you have to have $2.5 million to retire.
Right.
And a lot of our people are like, what are you talking about? Right. And I said, well, look where the article's written. If it's written in New York City or Los Angeles, then yeah, it's different. But here, when we're talking about Grand Rapids, we're talking about the west side of the state, or even the middle of the state, or even Detroit. Honestly, Michigan as a whole, very inexpensive state compared to most of the big names. So as a result, we don't need $2.5 million to retire. Now, I've had people who've come in with, $2.5, $3, $4 million. And because of their spending and lifestyle habits, it's tough to make it work. I've had other people come in with a couple $100,000, $500,000, but because they don't really need anything, because their Social Securities cover it, they'll never spend the $500,000. So it's a really specific thing to you and your family. And this is what always drives me crazy when someone says, "Oh, I'm not going to say the names, but one of these big box firms." And they just told me that I have to have a moderately, aggressive portfolio, whatever the term they'll use, moderately conservative. Yeah. And based on that, I should be able to pull out 4% the rest of my life, and I should be okay. I'm like, I hate the term "should be." I hate the idea that as long as the market does this, then I can do that.
Right.
Big box firms will always build portfolios for big box firms. They aren't building it for the client, the person who actually saved the money. And so when you look at these strategies, should I use annuities for income? Should I use dividends for income? Should I use preferred stocks? Should I use a 60-40 portfolio? You have to have someone who can truly be independent and say, it doesn't matter to me which way you go. As long as we solve for this problem, then we can be okay. That's all we have to do. So again, 616-512-2127. That's the number to call. If you call that number, we will schedule the time for you and I to have a conversation, to hear your story, to help you make sure that you're covering all these key areas: taxes, investments, income planning, risk management, estate planning, all these areas that affect your retirement, but yet the things we don't want to deal with. If you don't want to deal with budgeting, you probably don't want to deal with your estate plan or taxes either, but we do. We want to deal with your taxes. We want to deal with your estate plan. We want to deal with your budget. Why? To make sure that everything you've worked for over the past 25, 30, 40, 51 years in the event of my dad who just retired after 51 years of military service, right? Whatever it is, you've worked all these years. You've put the money away. You've saved. You've delayed gratification. So one day we can do this thing right. And now it's time to do it right with a comprehensive plan that's built for you, and it's independent in thought and independent in planning. That's what we do. So if you want that, give us a call, 616-512-2127, or you can reach out to us at michigansretirementcoach.com.
Mike and his team, they're here to help guide you through this process, because at the end of the day, the goal is that you're going to retire one time, but Mike and his team, they're retiring every single day. We're helping folks do that. So they got a wealth of knowledge in their pocket that they're ready to share with you. michigansretirementcoach.com is our website where you can go to start the conversation with Mike and his team, or click on the links we got posted in the show notes.
Thanks for listening to Michigan's Retirement Coach with Mike Douglas. To learn more, visit michigansretirementcoach.com.
Michael Douglas is an investment advisor representative of Stewards Wealth Planning LLC, a registered investment advisor. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Michael Douglas is licensed in your state, please call 517-323-7526. Stewards Wealth Planning LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Michael B. Douglas, NPN number 9650939.